Okay, so I'm going to jump in and I will try to be quick, but I think it's so cool. Chris's prophetic word and the little boy that saw the jars of joy is I'm going to talk about abundant life. And this kind of comes, what is abundant life? And I've been in this place for the last, 6 months or a year, maybe even 10 years. Julia was like, you've been really doing that, like living this message for 10 years. And so this is really like a life message, but a place of discovery for me, that when I read the Bible, I'm not reading it to teach, I'm reading it to encounter God, to have an encounter with him. And so it's intriguing when I'm going to read some scriptures about abundant life, and it's just intriguing me. What is abundant life? What does it look like? And this all comes from this place, of Christ in you, the hope of glory, that it comes from this place that we have, the spirit of adoption has come and we are co-heirs with Christ. And it's this place of discovering what he has given his life for, that we don't need to wait to go to heaven to have abundant life, to have eternal life, that we get to model it here as sons and daughters, and then we get to also model who our Father is in heaven. And so what does it look like, abundant life? And so we'll look at a couple of scriptures to kind of set the stage, and then we're going to go into a couple places. And so look at John 15, verse 11 through 12. These things I have spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might remain full. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. John 10:10, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that they might have life and have it abundantly. Proverbs 10:28, the hopes of the godly result in happiness. James 1:2, dear brothers and sisters, when troubles come your way, consider an opportunity for great joy. Now, when you discover God, you discover happiness, joy, and abundance. And so when we, in the gospel picture, we're looking at, sometimes when you talk about abundance, you talk about joy, and, we're called to be more than overcomers. And I've been sat down by a pastor a time or two where they've told me, you know what, Chad, you're too happy. Like we literally had this conversation. You're too happy and you preach, this overcoming message, and we're concerned because you need to preach more about the sufferings of Christ. And I was like, wow, I didn't know I was supposed to be focused on the sufferings of Christ. I'll take them when they come, that I'm good with persecution. I mean, one of my greatest followers and mothers is Heidi and Roland, and we have great talks about, the Chinese church and the persecution. But Paul wrote the greatest chapters of joy in prison. So it's not circumstantial. It's not like based on your circumstances that you get joy, or if you're driving this certain car or whatever, that you have abundant life. No, it comes from Jesus. And that in the midst of prison or in the midst of you, and that's what we're discovering is sometimes the religious system would say you have to be poor in order to find abundant life. That if you have the possessions of the world, and it's almost in our subconscious sometimes. And I like to kill that sacred cow. That Bill's been teaching a lot about how to steward wealth, and that's what sometimes in the church we sabotage ourselves, because if we get wealth, then maybe there's something wrong, or that's gonna it's the root of money. The money is the root of all evil and all stuff. But it's this place of discovering how to steward abundant life, how to steward happiness. It's intriguing. In Harvard, they have a happiness class, and it's the most attended class in the university. Over 1,000 people are there every semester. That's awesome. The world is searching what is happiness, and really they're searching who is Jesus. That in the year 2000, there were 50 books written on happiness. In 2008, there was over 4,000 books written on happiness. And in 2013, that number tripled. The world is searching for happiness. And that's what's amazing is we have it in Jesus. And so what does this abundant life look like? And so we're going to, kind of jump in there. I'm just going to, are you guys okay to just go along the ride with me for about 25, 30 minutes? Okay. Because I just feel like it was so good what Chris spoke and about just this joy bomb. And so it's how do we steward abundant life? How do we live where our joy, it remains in the fullness? And so Benjamin Franklin has this quote: "The Constitution only guarantees the American people the right to pursue happiness. You have to pursue it." It gives you the opportunity. So it's this, I just love what is happiness? What is abundant life? And, let's go with a couple more quotes because I love quotes. This is Carlos Castaneda. "We either make ourselves happy or miserable. The amount of work is the same. To get up each morning with the resolve to be happy is to set our own conditions to the events of each day. To do this is to condition circumstances instead of being conditioned by them. Most folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be." Abraham Lincoln. "The real happy person is one who can enjoy the scenery when on a detour." That's a Selah, especially for all the guys in the room. "The art of being happy lies in the power of extracting happiness from common things." And so we have this place, you have a great phrase: happy wife, happy life. And I have Julia in front here, and it's intriguing that studies have shown one of the things that is conducive for happiness is changing things up, not falling in a constant routine. Now, routine is good. You have 40 days of doing something in a routine; it becomes a habit, and so routine is good. But it's sometimes good to change up your routine. And Julia and I, we had breakfast and dinner every day. And I would say 5 days a week we had breakfast and dinner, and every day of the week we had at least one meal where we would sit down for at least a good 45 minutes and just talk and have a connection. And then baby comes. And that all just gets, I have never eaten alone so much in my life. But so we had to rediscover our connection. And, happy wife, happy life, that we're contributing, we're investing in our connection. And so anyways, Brielle's 7 months old, and we discovered taking walks. Julia has been praying for me to walk with her for 10 years, and it took a baby for it to happen. And now, we where we used to have meals together and talk and connect and have these incredible heart-to-hearts, now we take a walk almost every day, and we've had to adjust with the Reading heat. Now we have to wake up early in the morning, but we were walking a lot at sunset during the wintertime and the whole deal, and it's amazing what happens in the levels of our happiness as we're connecting. Way past that hour walk, it's this place. There's something about Julia's smiles that, as a spouse, as a husband, I love not the challenge, the privilege of discovering all of her smiles. Because she has different smiles. That she has a smile during worship. She has this smile when she's changing Brielle's diaper. When she does. She just gave a little laugh. I mean, I could hear her. How she talks to Brielle, and then she talks to me kind of similar sometimes. She's been talking to me. She's been talking to me with baby talk for 10 years. And then finally we have a baby to justify the baby talk. But she has these different smiles that, she has a different smile in worship than she does when she beats me in tennis. She has a smile with, taking a bite of amazing food, and I love setting up the conditions and circumstances for those smiles to continue. And there's something that I love in 10 years of marriage of discovering new smiles. Because there's more smiles in there that I have yet to discover. And it's pretty awesome. We traveled together, and now we've traveling with this baby, which you should see the suitcases. I think we had about 12 articles of bags, and it was like the Egyptians did a pyramid or something in the airport, and so anyways, it's like a saga to travel now, and it's so much fun, and so anyways. She has a smile when we minister together, but when she ministered with Heidi Baker, it's a different smile. And I'm like, you know what, Jules, you need to go and travel with Heidi. And so she goes on this trip with Heidi. She's gone for 5 days. She does a 3-city tour. I pick her up from the airport, and she has a smile that is like ear to ear. It's beaming that I've never seen before, ever. In the 12 years that I've known her. And I'm like, that smile, how can we make that smile happen, like not just occasionally, like all the time? It's like you have to go and travel with Heidi. We just actually were in vacation, and that was one of our conversations as I was encouraging her. You've got to travel with Heidi this year. Before number 2 baby comes, you've got to go travel. I'll take Brielle for 4 days, 5 days, and you please go travel with Heidi because I want to see that smile. She jumped in the car. She had these earrings that I've never seen before. They were gifts, and she's like, check out these earrings I got. And then I prayed for this lady, and she got set free. And then I prayed for this lady, and then I gave Heidi Baker this massage for like 45 minutes, and she was, I got all these knots out for her. Then I did this and I did that, and I got this picture, and oh my gosh, I came alive. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be a good husband, if I'm a smart husband, I'm going to send her away with Heidi Baker, to go for a couple of days, because she comes back charged, refreshed, rejuvenated in a way that doesn't happen with me. Now, I'm not insecure. She comes back hopefully refreshed and rejuvenated around me, that I want her to come alive around me, but there's something about Heidi that she has a different smile. I'll find this statistic. It's in here. Let's see here. It's a great statistic on... Oh, Jesus, where is this? I have a lot of notes up here, but it's all about hanging out with family. We'll get to it. I'll find it as we go on with the message. Well, here's a good one. Here's some goods. You guys like some stats? So we found that happiness, this is from Dr. James Fowler. We found that happiness can spread like a virus through social networks. In fact, if your friend's becomes happy, it significantly increases the chance that you'll be happy. A study by 2 professors from Harvard and UCSD found that when a person becomes happy, next-door neighbors have a 34% increased chance of becoming happy. A friend living within 1 mile has a 25% increased chance of becoming happy. Siblings have a 14% increased chance of becoming happy. A spouse has 8% increased chance of becoming happy. I don't know why the percentages are going lower, but we need to change that. A Harvard study showed that a happy friend who lives within a half a mile makes you 40% more likely to be happy yourself. Here we go. This is the stat that I was looking for. This is from a Gallup poll. Research has shown that people who are happy have healthier hearts, they have lower levels of stress hormones, and they live longer. People who regularly spend about a quarter of their hours each day with family and friends are 12 times as likely to report feeling joyful rather than feeling stressed or anxious. This whole place of abundant life, when I think about abundance, I think of one of my strengths as a maximizer. I pack everything in. Like, that's just my nature. That's like, oh, I think I could do that. Oh, yeah, I could do that. And I love that. Like, people like always will kind of tell me like, I think you do too much, Chad. And I'm like, well, you know what? I might not. I dream about a lot of stuff and I try to do some stuff and we might fall short where that thing didn't, that one out of I got to do 9 out of the 10 things on the list. But most people only had 3 things on their list and I got to do 9. Let me give you an example. Julia laughs because she knows this about me, and it's sometimes a little hard living with a maximizer. And so it was Thanksgiving. This was 2 years ago, and we went down to Sacramento to spend time with her family and her parents and relatives. And we were having this huge Thanksgiving feast and dessert. And the swell of the decade came on this. I'm a surfer, by the way. I'm a surfer. I'll talk about surfing in a second. Surfing is huge for me. I love being in the water. I find God in the water. I'll never forget sitting on the airplane in Indonesia, and I only got to surf a handful of times. I was there for 4 months, and the Lord said, how'd you like the trip? And I said, I loved it, God. It was amazing. Saw villages get saved, healed, and delivered, and just saw crazy, crazy stuff. And I said, I really wish I could have surfed more. And God's like, you know what? I really wish you would have surfed more too, because I find pleasure in you when you surf. So I love surfing, and I find God when I'm surfing. And so anyways, I tell Julia, because she could tell that, and she's told me, Chad, you are a different person when you get in the water. After you get out of the water, you're more alive. Like you're more full of joy. You're more refreshed. There's something about you that comes alive. And okay, I guess we're going down this road, but I began to study movement of water. Why is it that so many crazy events in the Bible happen with a movement of water? You have the River Jordan, the parting of the River Jordan where Joshua is leading, Israel into the promised land. You've got, Elisha striking the mantle of Elijah in the river and it parts. You've got Jesus being baptized in the River Jordan. You got Ezekiel's river. You got the river that flows from the throne room in Revelations 22. You've got, there's so many places. The Holy Spirit hovering over the waters, and that's where, life began. I mean, why is it that so many major cities are built by a movement of water, a body of water that's moving, that's not stagnant? It's crazy. Just think for a second. You got LA, San Diego, Seattle, you got Portland, a river. You got Sydney, you got Brisbane, a river. Melbourne, a river. You got London, you got Paris, there's a river. You just keep going down the line. Cape Town. All these major cities, New York, Boston. We keep on going. It's intriguing, isn't it? And there's other studies that I've done about movements of water, about the eons and all this different crazy stuff. But anyways, I don't have time to go into that. But there's something about surfing that makes me come alive. And so Julia knew, okay, this is the swell of the decade. She's like, honey, this Thanksgiving, you can't go. And I said, okay, well, you know what? I believe in win-win situations. I'm a maximizer. I said, honey, what about if I enjoy Thanksgiving with your family and then I have some friends from Redding pick me up on the highway and they take me to Santa Cruz at 10 o'clock at night and I go surf all night and then I come back for Friday morning. And she goes, no way. At first she goes, no way, you're not going to do that because you'll sleep all day Friday and we want to have a family day on Friday. And I go, honey, I will show up. I will bring my A game on Friday, okay? Can I please go surf? And so she finally gives in because she has this insane husband. And so I have friends that pick me up. I have 2 buddies, my buddy Daniel and Tom. They pick me up and we drive 3.5 hours to get to Santa Cruz. I surf from about midnight, 12:30 till about 6:30 in the morning. And we hop in the car to have breakfast with Julia. Actually, we stopped at Macy's to go, the Black Friday shopping. Like I said, I'm a maximizer. So I was in there for a half an hour, got some killer deals on some clothes, made it to breakfast, and then we played baseball, we played tennis, we played basketball, and then we did a 30-mile bike ride. It was awesome. That is my type of, 24 hours. This is what I live for. I love that. That to me is abundant life. Some of you are like, man, that sounds horrible. But that's who I am. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm a, I've got the risk taking thing. I got that crazy thing. I mean, I love it. I love night surfing. I love the challenge. I mean, I have goals. I have different challenges. Like I want to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And I don't want to be in the Guinness Book of World Records for like swallowing the most nickels or something like that. I want to do it with a passion, like something that I love. And so next summer, my goal is to be in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest surf session. And so right now, the longest surf session is 29 hours, and I'm going to go for 45. So that is my goal for next year. And, I had a goal to run a marathon. When I was 24, I trained too fast, too hard, too fast, and I got tendonitis in my knee. And I let that goal sit in my life. That I've got over 400 life goals. And so one of them was to do a marathon, and I got to run a marathon last year. I haven't ran since then. But I did a marathon. And my goal for next year is to do an Ironman. And so I've been biking and all stuff and, swimming a lot. Haven't been running, but I have been biking and swimming like you wouldn't believe. And it's been amazing. There's something about abundant life that it's finding God in everything that you do. It's in this place of friendship with God, and friends like to hang out. I've spoken on friendship in this house before, where at 7 years old, me and the Holy Spirit watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a kid. That me and God have watched movies together, but it's in everything that we do. I'm discovering God. And that is abundant life, is in everything you're doing, you're finding Him. He's with you. He's walking with you. Whether it be that you are in prison, or whether it be that you're watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you're hanging out with God. I'll give you some more stats. One of the ways of cultivating happiness is to make other people happy. They say that one of the greatest ways to become happy is doing random acts of kindness. I have some friends at Bethel. She works for me in the alumni department. Her and her husband, they buy things on Craigslist, and they usually will give, they're asking $100 for a chair or something like that, and they will usually give 10% more than what they're asking. Oh, you want $100 for that? How about we'll give you $115? Oh, what? I thought you were going to go down. That's how this works. No. They're just like, that's just, what's fun? I love just experiment, like doing stuff that just, what makes you happy? Just doing stuff out of the normal, out of I like to just go give people that don't need money. They go give them money, the people that don't need it. I, of course, give it to widows and orphans, but sometimes I'll just go give somebody who I know has a lot of money, and I'll just go give them money. And they'll be like, why are you giving me money? I don't need it. Yeah, that's right. That's why I want to give it to you. I go bike riding. I talked about training for an Ironman. I like to just do kind of weird, just like fun stuff. And I have my path to get to the river trail. I have to go on a bridge over Highway 5. And so what I do, this is my routine, is I have to give 10 shaka bombs. This is what a shaka bomb is. For those that don't know, I'm from the surf culture, so this is what we call a shaka bomb. And you do like this. So let me help you guys out in Dallas. I stand over the pass. Now, I know this is probably not the safest thing to do to oncoming traffic, but I get 10 people to give me a shaka bomb back, and then I get 5 truckers to honk the horn, and that's how I start my bike ride. But there's something about causing other people that you do not know to smile. Seriously, I love it. I love doing that. Like your life should not be boring. And that's what abundant life is. It's just not boring life. It's abundant life. And it's way bigger than you. They say that one of the causes of happiness is to be a part of something way bigger than you. And hello, that is the Christian church. We're a part of something way bigger than us. there's something that causes happiness to overflow in our lives, to be a part of something way bigger than us personally. You guys doing okay? We're gonna pray for you. We're gonna pray for you. And then we're all gonna do a bike ride afterwards. Do you know the country of Bhutan? The country of Bhutan has been pursuing gross national happiness for 8 years. They are pursuing gross national happiness, and that it actually would be married to their GDP, that it's almost like their checks and balances is their national happiness, that as they begin to give their natural resources to maybe whether it would be China or whatever, hey, how is this going to affect our gross national happiness? Pretty awesome. Gross national happiness. And there's just something that the world is looking for in this place of happiness. A great movie, the Secret Life of Walter Mitty, if you've ever seen that. And it's this place of taking risks, this place of stepping out into the unknown that causes happiness. It causes something to find out you have a pulse. That doesn't happen from sitting on the couch watching TV. I'm not, again, sitting on the couch watching TV, but you gotta enjoy life, and you can't just find happiness in your vocation. You can't find happiness in if you have only one place in your life that you're finding happiness. There's probably other places in your life that are shut down. That you have to have side projects. I've got side projects that, whether it's running, an Ironman, or whether it's, being in the Guinness Book of Records, or it's learning salsa dancing with Julia, which I haven't told her yet, but that would be something that I'd love to do. And so here's some of my side projects. My side projects is to be a craftsman, a builder of men and furniture, to be a DJ, to be a record producer, to run an Ironman, a marathon, to discover one new song a week, to be inspired by people. These are the things that I'm doing on a weekly basis that I'm trying to do. The DJ thing hasn't been a weekly basis yet, but my point is you to have this full life, it needs to be full. It can't be, you can't find happiness only in one part of your life, but in every part of your life. In your family, in your marriage, in your job, and in side projects, in your community. And see, happiness is contagious. Joy is contagious. I'm going to show this YouTube clip about how joy is contagious. And I'm telling you, the world is hungry to discover what abundant life is. And abundant life is Jesus. And it is contagious, and it will spread like wildfire. Watch this video and get ready. Don't be shy. If you feel like joy's hitting you, just release it. Let it happen. Go ahead. Yeah, start it from a minute 30 in.
Oh yeah.
He's on a different train now. That's good. Okay, just really quick, and then we're going to have to do a joy tunnel. I mean, and this is, this is a message that I'm just trying to walk out of my own life is what is abundant life? What does fullness of joy look like? And knowing that it's contagious. It's way bigger, in order to get more, you got to give what you have. And it's intriguing that scientists have discovered that in our genetic code, 50% in our genes is where we get the potential of happiness, 50%. And so that's in our gene pool. Like we're not really able to dictate how much we get from that. So let's say maybe we get 40% out of 50%. Do you know that what is the world marketing you in the areas of happiness is that if you want to be happy, buy this, have this car, do this, do that, go on this vacation. 10% can come from possessions, social status, all those different things. That's wealth, popularity, notoriety, and circumstances. Only 10% could come from happiness could come from your life. Only 10%. So let's say you reach that optimal level, which the whole world's banking on. That's almost 100%, but it's actually 10%. Genes is 50%. 40% is up to you. So let's say you optimize that 40%, you got given 40% through your gene pool, and then you got 10%. It is drastically different in the household, happiness in the household for a household income of $500 to $50,000. Dramatic shift in the areas of happiness. But from $50,000 to $50 million is a slight difference of happiness. And so 40% is up to us. So that means you could, let's say you only got 40% from your gene pool, you could be operating out of 90%, which is quite a bit of happiness. That's a pretty happy person. I think with God, it could be 100%. But what I'm saying is it's interesting that scientists are discovering this. That as a teenager, you stop producing dopamine. Your body will starts producing less and less dopamine, and you have the synapse. And it's interesting it's kind of the theory: if you don't use it, you lose it. And dopamine is the feeling you get from joy, from happiness. And when you don't use it, you lose it. And so you have these synapses that fire into your neurons. And if you aren't, they say the greatest way to have dopamine come into your life is physical activity, working out. And they say if you don't use it, you lose it. And the thing is, when you lose, you'll start losing synapse, and then the neurons. But once you start losing neurons, you can't get those back. That's what they're talking medically. But the greatest way to fire your synapse and to get neurons firing through the dopamine is through physical exercise, which is pretty intriguing, because recreation is recreation. Like, how we're discovering, breaking the Gnosticism and the whole thing that our soul and our body are bad and, the flesh is weak. No, that under the blood of Jesus, that we've been sanctified with our spirit, our soul, and our body, and recreation brings recreation. I don't know about you, but that's awesome for me. Let's go for a bike ride. But it's just intriguing. It is so intriguing to me how, you look at the movies and how there's so many movies that have the word happiness or happy in there. The world is searching for Jesus, searching for joy that does not come from this planet, that comes from the God of love, the God of joy, the God of hope. And so let me just pray for you guys. Is that you guys begin, I always wanted to just share a little bit of my journey of me discovering abundant life and what that looks like, and that there's going to be different, things. I love that. I love discovering what makes me come alive, and how Jesus has made me, that discovering him through, whether it be surfing, whether it be doing art with my mom, whether it be walking with Julia, that there's things in me sometimes that shut down that I have to rediscover, where sometimes I don't feel like I'm a great cook, but I become Julia's sous chef in the kitchen. And that's one of the ways that we connect now. We put on Frank Sinatra and I just cut things and she throws stuff at me. And we have the most amazing, we have more fun making food than we do eating it almost, Well, no, it's about 50-50. But But I want to invite you guys to discover what does abundant life look like? What does finding Jesus in your everyday life look like? And that having that joy that remains. And so just put your hand in your heart. So Lord, I pray, Lord, for creative ways to discover abundant life. Whether it's giving shaka bombs, whether it's, random acts of kindness. Lord, I pray for creative ways that your kingdom would invade this planet and we would discover abundant life. Lord, there's so many different, I want to start a ministry called He Heals on Wheels. I just feel like there's the Jesus People movement was this birthing place of breaking the four walls of the church. Every movement was a breaking of religiosity, of routine, where John Wesley's and the George Whitfields stopped preaching inside the four walls of the church and they preached in the fields, and a crazy harvest came. What is it for our generation? What does it look like? There's creativity that wants to be released. God wants to release that. So, Lord, I pray you would help us discover what abundant life looks like. Lord, that we would have there would be incredible, contagious joy that the world is longing for. The world is longing. What does happiness look like? I want to be happy. The only way to discover true happiness is through Jesus. And if you don't know Jesus, this would be the perfect night. I'm telling you, you'll never be bored with Jesus. If you find yourself bored in church, God's not the one with the problem. Because for eternity, you are going to be full of joy. Abundant life. Lord, I pray that we would take the journey of abundant life. Lord, that we would discover what the sacrifice that you paid for, what does it look like, this inheritance? And it's just the beginning. Wreck us really good. Amen.